Alright. If you are following the channel, you probably know that my daily driver since August of 2022 has been the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4. But last October of 2023 I sadly already traded it for a Galaxy S23. The Flip 4 phone itself has no issue at all. All the phone's functionalities are still perfectly working. The only problem that I had on it was its screen protector. For some reason, in both side edges of the hinge area, the screen protector lifts up on itself. Even if I flatten it out, after a few hours, the screen protector will lift up again. I did try to have the screen protector replaced. Twice on 2 different Samsung stores and 1 time by me, using the Ringkey Dual Easy Film. And after spending more than 3,000 pesos, it's still the same. Both sides of the hinge area still lift up. It might not look a big deal since it's only a screen protector and some might say it's just aesthetics. But it's not. It is a really big deal. It's actually very dangerous to a flip phone screen to have a loose screen protector, most especially on the hinge area. When you fold your phone, this loose parts of the screen protector could act like a foreign particle inside the folded screen and can poke or bump the actual fragile phone screen. That simple loose screen protector can easily crack your flip phone screen. So, since my Flip 4's screen protector keeps lifting up on the hinge area and I don't want to stop folding my phone, I'm assuming that it is just a matter of time before the screen protector cracks my phone screen. We always say that prevention is better than cure, so I decided to trade my Flip 4 to a Galaxy S23 base model. I'm going back to the basics. I got a really good deal with this trade-in, and so far, I'm loving the S23. If you want to see the full unboxing video of the Galaxy S23, I will pop up on the screen the link to the shorts video that I posted last week, and it can also be found in the video description below. The box does not contain anything other than the SIM tray pin, charging cable, and the phone itself, so there's not much into it really. It is a boring box package actually. The Samsung Galaxy S23 was released last February this year, 2023. The available regular colors of Galaxy S23 are Phantom Black, Green, Lavender, and Cream, which is what I have. They also have 2 region-specific colors for Graphite and Lime. The phone dimension is 146.3 by 70.9 by 7.6 mm with a weight of 168 grams. It has 2 nano SIM slots and capable for 1 eSIM. S23 is rated for IP68 dust and water resistance. Galaxy S23 base model is running on Android 13 with a skin of One UI 5.1. Both front and back are protected by the latest Gorilla Glass Victus 2, while the side of the phone are made up of a tough armor aluminum frame. Storage is available for 128, 256, or 512 GB. And all variants have 8 GB of RAM. The left side of the phone does not have any buttons or holes, just 2 antenna lines from both far sides. The bottom also has 2 antenna lines, along with a SIM tray, and 2 holes which I think are both microphones. Just a note, don't be like me where I used a SIM tray pin on this hole. Hopefully, I did not damage it. Make sure that you poke the proper SIM tray hole, which is the one in the left side. On the right side we have the power and the volume buttons and another antenna line. While at the top, we have another microphone hole, along with another 1 antenna line. At the back, where I already put in a carbon fiber designed film protection, we have the flash and the 3 back cameras. The display of the Galaxy S23 is a 6.1-inch dynamic AMOLED screen with a marketed variable screen refresh rate from 48 to 120 Hz, but many YouTubers confirms that it can actually go down to as low as 24 Hz, which is a lot better for the battery. It has a screen resolution 1080p, specifically a 1080 by 2340 pixels. I personally think that 1080 is the Goldilocks zone for phone resolutions, since you would not really notice any difference against higher resolution. And since 2K or 4K resolution can eat up more of the battery juice, 1080p resolution is actually more beneficial. The normal brightness of the S23 can go up to 1200 nits. Well, when you are on auto brightness mode, it can peak up to a whopping 1750 nits. So using S23 outside will not be a problem to anyone. Even on the sunny day, the screen stays clear and very viewable. On the opposite side, when I am watching movies on bed with all the lights turned off, the brightness can go low on a level that is pleasant to my eyes. Overall, the display of the S23 is superb. Samsung does really create the best phone displays in the world. Samsung Galaxy S23 is also equipped with a very reliable ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, which is under the gorgeous display. I've been using this phone as my daily driver for more than a month now, and I must say, this is the fastest under-display fingerprint scanner that I've used. Look at that. You literally just need to tap the screen, and you're in. I have nothing bad to say about this great fingerprint scanner. Under the hood, S23 is powered by a 3900 mAh lithium-ion battery. This is easily a whole day phone. I can get 5 to 6 hours screen on time consistently. If I play less games and take less pictures and videos, I can reach up to 7-hour SOT. Shockingly, this slightly is better than the 6000 mAh battery of my ROG Phone 5. Charging is up to 25 watts wired, advertised to charge 50% within 30 minutes, which I can't really test since I only let my phone battery go down to 20%, then I already recharge it. But based on my computation, this 50% in 30 minutes claim by Samsung is pretty much accurate. Using a 25-watt Samsung charging brick from 20% to full charge takes about 50 minutes only, which is a very acceptable charging speed. S23 can also be charged wirelessly up to 15 watts, and using Samsung's 15-watt dual wireless charging, 20% to 100% takes 3 hours. Yes, it's that long. So I only wirelessly charge my S23 when I anticipate to not use it for some time. Otherwise, you will save a lot of time by just charging it on wired mode. Even with an average battery capacity, S23 is still capable to share some juice with its 4.5 watts reverse charging. On the battery and charging department, S23 is not the best, but definitely one of the better ones out there. S23 is running with the latest Qualcomm's SoC, which is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which uses the Adreno 740 for GPU. The S23 variant I have here is the 256GB storage, which I want to point out makes a big difference in speed as compared to the base 128GB variant. Since the 128GB only uses a UFS 3.1 storage, while the 256GB and higher storage uses UFS 4.0. In case you didn't know yet, UFS 4.0 is 46% faster than UFS 3.1, so selecting the higher storage variant makes a big difference. As expected, with the latest storage type and SoC, the S23 can pretty much handle anything you throw at it. I have not experienced any hiccups, slowed down, stutters, and anything like that on anything that I do on this phone. Maybe games, social media, Netflix, YouTube, photography, video recording, or all of them at the same time, and any other apps in between. It's all like just eating peanuts for the Samsung Galaxy S23. Considering that my OnePlus 7T Pro, which is 4 years old already, can still run all modern applications today, what more for S23 which uses the latest chipset? You are pretty much future-proof with this phone, which can probably still run anything smoothly, maybe after 7 to 8 years or so for now. I don't know what more to add about the Galaxy S23 in terms of performance. It's just the best right now, as everyone would probably already expect. One of the aspects of the S23 that surprised me the most is its speakers. It has a dual stereo speaker, which is shockingly really loud. ROG Phone 5 is still louder, but the S23 is louder than the much bigger phone, like the OnePlus 7T Pro, and the sound it produces solid. If you don't believe me, here's a sample, and do let me know in the comment what you think. There is no 3.5mm jack here by the way. The microphone of the S23 is also solid. I never had any complaints on the other end of the line when I do a phone call, and when recording a video, the microphone captures everything. And I mean everything since there's no noise cancelling here whatsoever. Here's a sample of the microphone.
What you're hearing now is the unedited microphone audio of the Samsung Galaxy S23. So I am walking beside the street where cars are passing by. So I don't know if you can hear the cars passing by here. What do you think of the audio of the Galaxy S23? Let me know in the comments below.
The S23's camera module is composed of a 50-megapixel main, a 10-megapixel 3x telephoto lens, and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, which are capable to record up to 8K 30 FPS. While the selfie shooter is also a 12-megapixel lens that can do 4K 60 FPS. On a bright environment, everything looks good. The photos come out superb, full of details, with a great dynamic range. Comparing to the old Samsung's post-processing, which produces mostly saturated images, the S23 produces more of a true-to-life colors now, which is really great. Another great thing here is, the colors between the main lens, wide angle, and telephoto lens are accurate to each other, which you can rarely see from a phone camera system. There's of course the usual many different modes for shooting here. The likes of portrait shots, panorama, food shot, slow motion, professional mode, and so on. And I'll tell you, regardless of the mode, everything comes out great on proper lighting. But don't take my word for it, view the rest of these unedited shots and let me know what you think in the comment below. I'm so impressed with the zoom capability of the S23, so I must create a chapter for it. Wide angle to 3x zoom are crisp, which is expected since it has a dedicated lens for these. When you reach 10x zoom, it starts to get soft, but still very much a great picture. As you go to higher zoom, it becomes a muddier image, but again, still usable and decent. 30x zoom is comparable to the phone cameras from about 6 to 7 years ago. It's not 100x zoom like its big brother the S23 Ultra, but 30x zoom is still at a surveillance level of photography, and it is really impressive. The low light performance of the S23 camera is also great. And don't be fooled by the viewfinder when taking photos, which appears to be a very noisy and blurry image, because after taking that shot, S23 does its magic on post-processing and makes the image way more decent. See the rest of the images to know what I mean. This one was taken on a room where the only source of light is the TV and a very dim light at the right corner. But with a really good dynamic range, you can clearly see what's on the TV, while you can still see the remote controls from the left side. In real life, I can barely see those remote in my naked eye. Amazing camera. And you can also do the controversial moon shot here in the Galaxy S23. It only works on 30x zoom though. As debunked by many YouTubers already, we all know now that this is a fake moon shot. The camera does not really take a clear picture of the moon. It is literally impossible to do that with a phone camera. Rather, the camera's software overlays a moon picture over the actual moon that you are shooting. Since the side of the moon facing Earth is constant, they can get away with overlaying a fixed moon picture, making it look like your phone camera is a hyper-zoom telescope. But regardless of knowing that this moon shot is basically a fake shot, there's no denying that it is still so much fun to do it. As with the photos, the videos on the S23, on good lighting, comes out superb. As you can see in this video where I am shifting back and forth from a very bright sunlight lit side and a darker shaded area, you don't even notice the difference between them anymore, since the camera shifts the exposure very quickly, making these two differently shaded areas looks like they have the same amount of light. Amazing. On the zoom area, there's a big difference though as compared to the photos. Videos here can only go up to a maximum of 12x zoom. But the plus side here is, even on the maximum 12x zoom, the video does not appear to have any noticeable degradation. It still looks good at 12x, shifting between the lenses is very noticeable though. There is certain jitter that you can see when it's switched between the lens while zooming in or out. There's also a lot of different shooting modes for videos that you can explore. Like this one, which is called a director's view, where it simultaneously uses the back and front camera, making it a great tool for vloggers. And you can use all lenses here. You can switch which goes to the small and big picture, and you can also switch to any of the 3 rear lenses. Another one of my favorite video mode is the portrait video. See this footage, the bokeh effect makes it like something that has been shot from a professional camera. The edge detection is on point and the details are all captured in crisps. Really nice. Sadly, the low light video is a different story. Both the wide-angle lens and the telephoto lens struggle with the exposure and stabilization on low light. Please note that I am on my daily run while all of these footages were taken, which is a good way to test the stabilization. As you can see in these examples, the wide-angle and telephoto lens are very underexposed and almost no stabilization. The telephoto lens even adds a lot of noise in the footage. Almost non-usable ones. Luckily, the main 50-megapixel lens can still produce a very decent footage. There's still some little noise, but everything is properly exposed and it produces mostly sharp frames with great colors and the stabilization is decent as well, considering that I am running on this footage. As what you might expect, zooming in from 0.6 to 12x on low light is not that great either. The most decent zoom you can get here is 1 to 3x zoom. Zooming lower or higher than that is too noisy and underexposed, which is a big difference when comparing to the photos on the same area, as shown earlier. 1080p at 30 fps produces a good video with a very decent stabilization. Great exposure and clear footage with a bit of noise. The 60 fps for 1080p resolution
1080p,
produces better footage with less to no
60
noise.
FPS.
But it loses a bit of the stabilization, so you'll have a better quality but more shaky footage here. For 4K resolution, it's the same story as the 1080p, with the 60 fps having less noise and, as expected, a smoother footage. But both of the 4K footages seems to have lesser stabilization as compared to 1080p. The 8K recording, which only has a maximum of 30 FPS, came out more noisy and has the worst stabilization. I would not recommend using 8K on a low light situation. Overall, I can only recommend the main 50 megapixel lens when on low light situation and stick to 1080 or 4K. When recording on a tripod, use the 60 FPS, otherwise, stick to the 30 FPS. The 12 megapixel selfie camera of the S23 is decent. You have the usual photo and video options. And you also have a portrait shot here. And when you go to the more options, you have all the same options as with the main camera. The photos taken on a good light are good. It is not as vibrant and as sharp as the main camera, which is understandable. Photos appear softer here on all modes, which makes sense since all modes use just the same one selfie lens. But comparing to the selfie lens of the Galaxy Z Flip 4, this is way ahead. The portrait mode edge detection is decent enough. As you can see here, it blurred the white colors on my face mask strap, which is wrong. But it's understandable since the bokeh is done through software only and not from a depth sensor. Videos on the selfie camera of the S23 are really good. The videos appear vibrant and weirdly, seems to produce more details than the photos. The dynamic range is not that good though, which we can forgive since selfie camera are supposed to focus on one's face anyway. You can take 720p, 1080p and 4K videos on the selfie camera, and all resolution has an option for 30 or 60 FPS, which is a very versatile setup for a selfie shooter. Let me know in the comments on how good you think the selfie shooter is. For low light situations, the selfie lens of the Galaxy S23 is not that good. Fortunately, it has some tricks on its sleeve, like this ring light that it creates when it's too dark. And look at how good it enhances this very dark picture. Wow. The picture taken from an almost pitch black situation and then coming out this good. Amazing. This just proves that, these days, the software part of the camera does majority of the work now. As for the selfie video, on a semi-low light situation, it appears noisy. It is still usable, but it does not look good. And it only gets worse as you take out more light. Unlike the photo where the phone can create an artificial ring light. It cannot do that for videos, so you are left with this very muddy, noisy, and dark video which is not usable at all. I would not recommend a selfie when you are on a very low light situation, but photos are still good, which is due to the clever software enhancements done by the phone. Alright. I know I haven't addressed the elephant in the room yet. That is, S23 is a small phone by today's standards. It is not the top of the line in the S series, it's actually the lowest model in the series, and it does not have the best of the best features. Well, comparing to S23 Plus, which is basically just a bigger phone than the S23 base model, but has almost the same specs and yet costs 19,000 pesos more. It does not make sense to get the Plus. It will make more sense to just get the Ultra instead of the Plus. Personally for me, as mentioned earlier, I don't want a heavy big phones anymore, that's why I choose the base model. In addition to that, let's be honest here, aside from the size difference, what are the features that S23 Ultra has, which the base model don't have, that you are going to use on a regular basis anyway? You don't need to zoom 100 times all the time. Quad HD does not make any noticeable difference as compared to a full HD on a small phone screen. A better low-light camera performance is good, but when did anyone ever use their phone camera on a pitch black situation? And do we really need an S Pen for a touchscreen device? S23 base model has the same connectivity, basically the same screen, same maximum refresh rate, same peak brightness, same processor chip, same OS, same water-resistant rating, same Corning Gorilla Glass protection, same body frame, and more, as compared to the S23 Ultra. So I essentially saved 37,000 pesos here. And with all of the good things mentioned within this video about the S23, with some barely essential shortcomings, I think choosing S23 base model makes the most sense and also makes the most of your money's worth. Unless you really like those big heavy slab for a phone, I highly recommend the Galaxy S23 base model for everyone. For me, the Galaxy S23 base model is the most worthy value for money model in the S23 series. If you enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up. If it has helped you in any way, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Nilasuj for watching. Noba Air.